Okay, so as discussed today, we are going to start one of the very basic, a key feature of any software, any product, and as a software engineering team must deliver, and that is considered as a security parameter, right? So whenever till now, whatever we have studied, we have studied microservices, web application, API, whatever the informations our software is developed, user can request and they can get data. User can request, send request and receive the data from the our machine, laptop, mobile, anywhere. This is our client. Client send request, and this is the server responding requested data. So as of now, whatever we developed our uh, maybe client code, maybe server code, anything, that's good. There is no problem. This is the way we develop. But now we are going to add additional capability in my software, that is known as a security. What do you mean by security? Security means depend upon the user. What kind of users are accessing my application? And accordingly, I want to allow access or read my data, share my data, create my data, delete my data. These are the lots of endpoint we have covered. Get data, create data, post data, delete data. So what do you think? All kind of user can access all the my endpoints or microservice or API. For development perspective, it's okay. Anyone can access. But whenever you deploy your application on the real, you have to ensure that let's say delete endpoints. Only my special privileges admin can do. Maybe update any record. Surely, if customer cannot update his own all the information, might be some customer have a specific information, maybe transaction ID, something specific, maybe admin person can do. Rest not. Maybe customer can edit my email address and the contact number is, but they cannot change other information. So that means whatever the informations, a data, our server providing to the client, not flat, not always. Now our server have some additional responsibility. Whatever the request come in the system, first they verify this request are really interested to look those information which are freely available for all. Let's allow them, but they are requesting some information that's required the specific privileges. In this case, we have to, hey, ask your username password. Might be some valid user, but really they have a permission to edit or not. So here some kind of words I'm using: authentication, authorizations, and role. These three terminology come under your security. In security means I am talking about this authentication. I am talking about this authorization. I am talking about this role. What kind of role customer has? So whenever you're talking these three concept, if implemented as a part of security, and in any applications you are delivering, that must support authentication, authorizations, and role and permission issue, right? So let's in the real example, maybe you are working in a particular office. This is your office premises, and notice in office premises we have a security guard. Any customer or any employee or any information seeker can go inside your company premises? Yes or no? No. Or in the company premises, there are lots of a facility available, canteen facility, admin room facility, server room, and our receptions room, and some specific operation rooms. All the things have. So these informations, all the services available, but this is not available for everybody. So we have apply here one security mechanism, one security guard, gatekeeper. Hey, anyone come here, please restrict them. Don't allow to everybody come in the system, come in my premises. Okay. The security guard have asked some question. The security guard asked which person I am going to allow, which person I cannot allow. The security person have some judgment criteria. Hey, let's say any person who are come that have a maybe ID card of the company. That's allow them. That means this is the valid user, valid customer. Means ki now security guard stand up here. Any person come that have an ID card of the company, they allowed to the go inside. That's good. Means this ID means you are the valid employee. Means you have your email ID, email name, everything available on your ID card. Okay, so this is known as a now our security guard is aware any employee, any human being coming in my company that's have a valid ID card of my company, ID card of my company, I am allowed in. That's good. So this is known as your authentication. Authentication means ki you are valid user, you are a valid employee, and rest any other person. Security guard says no, you cannot go inside the premises. The first in the security parameter, first check is your authentication, right? Authentication is first, and authentication is just in the software perspective, just you understand username and password. Whenever your application asks, hey, prompt your username and password, that means this is the process where security going to authenticate you, means they are going to validate you are the right person or not. So it is clear what is authentication.
To verify the identity,
To validate, yes, identity.
validate the identity.
Uh, you are the right person or not.
Mm.
So once this this check pass, let's see here in the case of our company employee, you have a valid ID card, and you go to the company gate, and security guard say you have valid ID and you can go. Now inside the room, there are lots of different room available, some receptions available, you can visit receptions, some cafeteria available, you can visit the cafeteria, you have some lab room, you can go to the lab, or you have some server room, maybe some critical server room, maybe some specific finance room, maybe some basic is HR room, right? Different
Right.
sub services available. So think now if you have a valid user, you can access everything. Maybe not, right? Any employee, let's say I'm an employee, I'm going my company, I can go in a limited place only, not all the places. Maybe finance section where the money transaction going on, maybe I have not right person to go, right? Maybe some server room that's a specific design for a specific customer, I'm not valid to go to the check our server. So I have a some specific permission, okay, to which room, which server I can access. So I can, as any company employee, can go to the reception very easily, can go to the cafeteria, can go to the town hall room, can go to the maybe training room. It's okay. Can go to the workstation. That's fine. But you cannot go to the visit a specific server or a specific finance room, a specific room. So here, how someone going to now security guard your guard on the gate. They have a one check pass. That means you are authenticated. You are a valid user. Go to the system. But inside my premises, there are lots of other things. which you can access, which you cannot access. So that is known as a second check authorization. Authorization. Authorization means now user have a which kind of permission. User can access server room or not. User can access finance room or not. The second check our security come under authorization. They are going to check, hey, you have a right to access this server, this room, this place, this API or not. So it's good. So this is known as a authorization. So sometimes we are confused authentication and authorization. There are a drastically different meaning. Authentication means just checking you are a valid user or not.
Right. Right.
Authorization means now valid user have some right permission to access the particular locations or not. Right?
Right.
So here we have a known as the security in a security computer science the terms given as a authorization. So authentication means valid user. Authorization means now you have a permission to access a specific resources, maybe room, maybe server, maybe API, maybe service, anything, right?
Right.
So question come, this authorization how we are going to implement. Here it's clear. Authentication means username and password, right? It's clear. But in authorization, how I'm going to implement, how I'm going to work. Assumption, let's you are going to the server room. How someone protect you, you cannot go to the server room. That means your each room have a some gate where you have to show your ID card, right? Now this ID card something must have a permission. This ID card is the admin permission or non-admin or general employee or finance employee. Something this is known as roles, right? What kind of role you have, right? So due to that, the third terminology sometimes talk about the permission or role. Permission is decided on the basis of your role. Maybe you are a company CEO, you have a lots of role. Maybe you have a finance manager, you have this different kind of role. Maybe one software engineer have a different kind of role in the company. Maybe one reception boy, they have a different kind of a role, right? So this ID card have a some kind of user. Which kind of employee you have? Notice in the generally ID card have a your username, your email ID, and the role, right? You are a software engineer, you are finance department. Which department you are working? What is the role, right? So authorization is implemented from your permissions or role. Depend upon your roles, you can access the specific file, a specific API, a specific room, anything. So that is clear authentication and authorization.
Hmm.
So in any software, first every user must have a authorized, right? Authenticated. First step is the authentication. Second, if you pass, then you have a authorization. Authorization. And notice, so here in might be my application. My applications. This is my application. They have many lots of resources available here, different pages, different API available. So might be some in the case of our example. In the case of reception in my company, even you are not employee, you can go and ask some permission, right? Let's say I'm a visitor. The visitor can also go visit the reception part and inquiry some data. So similarly, my application, some information, home information, my company detail, my address, and what are the open job, these informations are accessible by everybody. There is no requirement of authentication and authorization, right? So in your application might be some information is freely available for everybody, right? So those known as a my endpoint, my resources that are access to everybody. In the case of our actual reception is available for everybody, right? But some things, some data, some services is only available for your authenticated user, and some APIs, some data is only accessible for the authorized person, a specific role they have. An authorized person always first authenticated, then authorization happens. Means ki first you have a username and password. You are the valid username password. Then next step you have to check what the role you have, what the capability you have, what the permission you have, depend upon your name. Depend upon your name. This is your name. This name, our authorization service take. Hey, this name have a only permission to get the data and update data. So those user only can get and update by endpoint access. Some user have admin, they have maybe privileges of create, get, update, delete. So particular user can be perform the other operation as well as. So is it clear about the basic about the security?
Okay. So authentication means when you log in with your identity,
Username
and
and password.
if the resource is available for every authenticated
Hmm.
people, that means it's like almost like a public information. Like it's
No,
like whoever can log in.
public information means without authentication, right? No authentication required, right?
Right,
Generally, notice you go to the almost all the official website. There's a home page. There are basic information about the company, about the address, about the contact you can access, right?
right.
They not required your login detail. They are not required authentication, right? So those are the non-secure information you can say. But authorized person, they can access non-secure information plus they have a authorized content as well as, right? But they cannot access those they don't have a permission to access, right?
Uh, so permission means role.
Role, right? Means depend upon your designation of the company, right?
Mhm.
I'm one software engineer, so I cannot go access the company financial data, right?
Right,
Means I don't have a such role. I can go my lab, I can develop software, I can test down because I'm engineer, right? But engineer don't have a permission to go in the finance room and check all the customers' salary details and everything, right? No. But might be one user that have a financial access, financial role. They can go and check all the financial details, right? Salary details like HR, right? But HR cannot go to my server room and check my server is start and stop, right? Don't have. So role play is a very important concept in the case of you are bifurcating your services, and this role checks is concept given as a authorizations. You are authorized to access this service or not. It's clear.
yeah,
So this two terminology bit be clear: authentication and authorization. And authorizations is the secondary steps. First, you must be authenticated. Then authorization come, right? Authorization always is the next second steps. Authentication is the first step. These are the two authentication, authorization combined. You can say security, right?
right.
So whatever the we have developed till now, the application, we have developed lots of endpoint, get endpoint, update endpoint, delete endpoint.
Right.
These all are the non-secure API. Means anyone can access your API, right?
Right.
Now we are going to learn in coming classes how I am going to say, hey, this API is only accessible for the authorized person, or this is the non-authorized person, or this is a secure endpoint, or this is not secure endpoint, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So this is the theory part. It's any confusion, any doubt, why we need this security. Security means authentication plus authorization.
So the keyword is role. The other
Hmm.
name, the role, you can call it uh,
Permission,
the permission. So that's not a
capability.
keyword, but the keyword is a role.
Uh-huh. Yes,
Yeah.
role.
Okay.
These are the main keyword: authentication and authorization too. And authorization is the authentication is implemented by two keywords: username and password, right? And authorization is implemented by the role, permission, capabilities, right?
Okay.
So these are terminology. Whenever I'm talking about a role, or
Right.
permission, or capabilities, that means you are talking about the authorization.
Hmm. I have seen this role has looks like a tree, so you can
Yeah, correct.
select roles. Okay.
Correct. That is the way. Yeah. In a real application, whenever one user created and our admin gives some permission to user, which part, which depend upon your designation, you are getting the permission, right? That's good. So, uh, a good part, all this theory, all the concept, whatever the framework I'm using to develop my application. Maybe I'm using the Spring framework, maybe I'm using the Quarkus, maybe I'm a Macronaut, I'm using the microservice, anything. Almost all the service providers given this kind of support. Just we have to read out the specific documentation and follow the instruction how they are say how you can secure your application, right?
Right.
So in our session, we are continuing Spring. So we are going to study Spring security. So just Google Spring security, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can find each and everything about the Spring security. What is Spring security? How Spring security work? What are the detail? Each and everything. And coming classes, we are going to read the same, right?
Same. Spring security.
Spring security. This is the basic documentation application available. We are the first objective. We are going to build basic like API. Let's see some 1 2 3 API, get, update, delete, and we are going to check how to securing the API, right? In right, these are the things everything available, and we are going to read more details, right? So these are the some simple project application available, how to securing a web application, everything here available. So how hello security with MVC, right? So these are
Right.
the big things we have. Good example. Always say Spring have a very good documentation, and whatever we are going to do, just read out. So we have already know how to building a Spring MVC application, just how to secure them. We know how to Spring Boot applications, how to secure them, right? Secure means now we are going to add authentication authorization capability, right?
Right.
The good part, whatever we develop, all is okay and fine. You are not going to change anything, your REST API, GET API, PORT API. Your application, whatever develop, it's okay. Just in the front of this, we have to get one more layer about the security layer, right? Means whenever client send any request, first my security code going to check your username, password, and authentication. If you pass everything, then they are going to allow, hey, you can access this API. Else, disallow. That means whatever we develop our server side code, it's fine. There is no any change required. Anything we are not going to change in the existing code. For security, you are not going to do any change in your code, right? We are going to some steps. Additional steps means in a Spring, just some configuration, some file, some user detail, because which user, which role you want to give, right? These additional information, we have to write some configuration file, some XML, some annotation. So overall, in Spring security, we are going to learn Spring what kind of annotation give us, so that I can enable security in my API. The good part here is not lots of coding required, lots of stuff what we already cover. Just we need to understand the concept and Spring how enable developer to do something. And generally, Spring highly nowadays are using the annotation part and some Java code, right? Where you can say username, password. You have to define because you are going to saying, hey Spring, you do my security. That means Spring know what is your user details, what is your password, what is your role, right? So that they
Right.
can. So only our responsibility we can define our username, our password, our role. And these information we have to inform, hey, Spring Security, these are my user detail, this is my username, password, this is my role, and the rest validation part you'll do.
Right.
So these things we have to going to cover in the look example how these additional layer you can say means ki our request and our API. Before that, I am doing some additional stuff. These additional steps just need basic some annotation and some configuration file, right? Because you
Right.
Spring work on the annotation part. And that is very simple. Just need a concept to clear, right?
Right.
And once this security concept, you are using the Spring or any framework, same almost work for other. Only some implementation change, right? But the concept is authentication, authorization will be same for every kind of framework which support a security. Good.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe look the Spring security architecture, some document they will give you. Okay? So diagram architecture, Spring security architecture. Okay, and these are the steps mentioned documentation, which anything, and these are the some terminology they have given to us. Like notice, like here, authentication provider, provider manager, authentication provider. These are terminology internally. Spring all go for checking username, password, role, some Java code required to check, and generally these code already written for you as a Spring security module, right? So these things we are going to cover how to do each and every document, and these are the steps which web security doing, right? So what the means? What the means? What the means here? Whenever you say, "Hey, this is my HTTP URL, right? And this is my IP address slash my API, right? API.
Right.
Whenever you hit, by default till now we assume our request go to the my mapping, right? Get mapping or post mapping. This is my code written Java my controller, REST controller, right? REST controller. Here I written the get mapping. Our assumption by default this request direct jump to the my controller, get mapping or post mapping or delete mapping. So this is
Right.
in till now our understanding. But between this request and to your REST controller, lots of other thing internally happen. That is known as a some code, something verification happen. So that is known as a filters concept. That is known as a filter, and lots of filters you can say filter chain means ki whenever you pass the first check the particular IP address are okay or not, particular port server running or not, right? And once those check pass, then go to the check what username details you have, a username details or not, your password have available ki na, not, if you have roles available or not, if your valid roles are not, each and every checks pass, then your request go to the API. Else any check fail, that means they say, hey, go back. I am not entertaining this request. You are unauthentication, unauthorization, forbidden. Such message we get. So this known as a filters, and this is the chains of filter means ki maybe filter one for authentication, for username, for password, for role authentication. The multiple filters they are applied. So generally in the web development kit concept known as a which the code that's completing your authentication and the authorization part, that is known as a filters. The filter means just filtering out those requests which are not valid, right? Means ki
Right.
finally this is the data I want to go into access, and this is the user they are requesting data. So before this request come here, I am going to apply some filtering. Filtering means check this is valid or not. Not valid, return from here. Maybe the authenticated but not authorization, that's written from here. Each even every check pass, then request go to the, oh, now you can go and get the data, right? So here say
Right.
sequence of filters our Spring application going to apply before your request land to your controller. So as of now, till now, whatever we study, our observation is that hey, from URL, our request go to the controller directly, right? So internally,
Right.
lots of happen, but we don't aware before. But whenever we're talking about security, now we are going to talk here those concepts known as a filter, or some language say interceptor, right? These two terminologies are interchangeable use: filter or interceptor. Interceptors also sometimes someone say filters. Both are the same terminology, right?
Right.
So these things we they are given as a architecture, each and everything. Like notice the filter, filter chain proxy, then filter, and then servlet. Servlet means your server code which serving your request, right? This is the right. This chain of filter means ki one filter pass, then request go to the next, right? This is the bolte this chain of filter means this fault name is a filter. Then filter chain, then again filter. If this filter pass, then go to the next. If this filter pass, then go to the next. If filter fail, again revert back, right, to the client code.
Right.
So all the things surely as developer you are not going to write. First thing, be careful. Just awareness in this way, Spring Boot implemented the concept, complete concept. Maybe multiple filters in here in the Spring security, Spring Boot security, 7 or 8 internally filters are implemented, right? To ensure that your applications are secure, right?
Yeah.
Lots of things in the documentation. Just you have a time, just go through and detail by details. I am going to just initially develop one basic application, right? A Spring Boot application, and where we can develop some endpoints, and you know how to develop endpoints. And later part, we are going to say, hey, I want to integrate here security. Let's this endpoint, no one can access without username and password, right?
Right.
As of now, whatever you did study in maybe Spring Boot application or Spring MVC Web, all the API anyone can directly access. They are not asking username password, right?
Right. Right.
In case of your web application, username password is a one-way authentication, right? But what happened? Let's say implemented username and password. What happens? Someone going to test from Postman, or someone going to test from curl API, right? So in this case, your form username password may be not available, right? So how to say, ki, hey, someone going to hit endpoint by my curl, how they pass something? You cannot open this login form, right? There is no HTML file. There is no web UI, right? So some places you know Spring Web or MVC, we are going to use the login form, right? But in the case of our API, maybe Postman, Get, curl, we have to use some different mechanism, right? So good option is that we are not going to cover everything, but you should aware there are lots of approaches to securing your application, right? Good
Right.
example, just you open a Postman. Postman utility also give you the basic idea, kind of authentication authorizations our system support. Maybe my Postman is not installed. I think yes, I have. So in Postman, why I'm talking? Because we are going to learn at least one form-based authentication where username and password someone going to type, and other what. So notice whenever someone from URL here, you can access URL from curl or Postman anything. Notice here is one part is the authorization. Notice this is the one part authorization. So this authorization help us types of authorization. Notice here no auth. So till now whatever we develop, because our API, this API is not secure, anyone can access, means there is no authorization. So notice there are lots of authentication authorization concept implemented here. Notice here API key, bearer token, JWT, basic authentication, digest authentication, auth1, auth2. These are the different types of approach where you can secure your application. Nowadays, auth 2.0 are used mainly. Okay, and but initially purpose, this is the basic means whenever select basic, they ask username password. Notice here. So in first we are going to understand the basic authentication, how any API go first ask, hey, type your username password. Without username password I cannot allow. So these all types of you can say authorization steps are types available. Surely nowadays some microservices are using API key concepts, some bearer key tokens, some JWT tokens. These are the famously used. And nowadays, notice all the authentication authorization. Generally, they are following the OAuth 2.0 as well as. So all the things surely we are not going to cover because each types have a own specific area to study. How to, so first our objective to understand basic things, basic authentication means ki each and every my endpoint must be go with some username password. Without it's not allowed, right?
Right.
And later part time permit, we can understand more, some maybe bearer token, JWT, API key, lots of things actually depend upon the your applications we are implementing, depend upon the types of security you want, maybe two phase authentication. Some notice somewhere you are typing username password, after that again asking some prompt from your mobile, right? You can type some OTP password, then allow, right? Some maybe someone say you can visit any website and say, hey, you can authenticate from your Gmail, from Facebook, right? Notice. So these all are the different types of authentication and authorization. Notice whenever you go to the login your maybe chat GPT, they ask, hey, you can authorize yourself from the maybe Gmail account or Facebook account or a specific account, right? So what these things, they are one kind of security. So is it clear what is your Spring security theory part one, right? Is it okay?
Yeah.
So till now, any confusion about theoretical, and maybe tomorrow we start our actual implementation. We are our objective. We have to develop basic one Spring Boot application and different kind of endpoint, and now we are going to securing one by one, right? Or all or none, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Our objective would be cover the basic authentication first, right? So that you at least know one kind of authentication. Similarly, you can do research for other as well, right?
So the one that you showed on the Postman,
Hmm.
different type,
Hmm.
is it all role?
No,
Because
this
you
is the
said it's
no,
authorization,
this is the types of authentication.
authentication. Okay. Okay.
Authentication, authorization, both is the types. Maybe someone username password. Let's see one microservice call to another microservice. Here there is no need of a username password form. Maybe some API key, authorization key are also needed, right?
Okay. Okay.
Those things means key in securing the. But whenever you are talking about user and applications, always preferable way username and password
Right.
authentication, right? Okay, that's good. Any question for the day?
No, I think we're good.
And let's tomorrow start our basic Spring security and some good demo, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.